Let's talk about children. Raising great children as you build a great marriage. Now, the key is to do both. If you're raising great children, that's great. But if your marriage is suffering in the process, you're not being successful. If you have a great marriage and if you have a successful relationship, but your kids aren't doing well, you're not successful. And so the key is to do both at the same time. Now, Mark 3:25, Jesus said, if a house is divided against itself, that house cannot stand. When parents are divided, you cannot possibly succeed in your parenting until you're unified as a front. So success is always going to depend on unity. Let me talk about blended families for just a minute, or step families. Half of all families today have children who are non-biological. But here's what happens. In most families, you have a marriage and then you have children that come around that marriage. And the marriage serves as a nucleus for the family and for the children. But in a blended family relationship or a step family relationship, you have children and then you have a marriage. And here's what I want you to understand. All families build around a marriage. They don't build around the children. And you have to have a marriage that says, we love our children, and even though I'm not your biological parent necessarily, every decision that we make will be made together, regardless of whether it's a biological child or a non-biological child. We will not be divided in our parenting because they're your children or my children. They're all our children, and all decisions will be made together. Now, if you don't use that method, what I want you to understand is children intuitively know how to divide their parents. They're masters at it. I don't know where they go to class, but somehow they go to a little class that tells them how to deviously divide their parents and to manipulate them to get their way. And so when you have a step family situation, it's even worse, because a lot of times there's resentment coming into the marriage because children are naturally loyal to their biological parent and they want their biological parents together. So a lot of times there's hurt and resentment on behalf of the children. One man that I knew very well married into a blended family situation. He married a woman, and she had teenage boys. And at the wedding, one of her sons came up to him and said, I'm going to make your life misery. And he did. I'm going to make your life misery. He was resentful of the fact that his parents had divorced and she had remarried, and so he came in the marriage with that attitude. Understand this, you can weather any storm in marriage. If you're an intact nuclear family, or if you're a blended family, you can weather anything if you weather it together. But as soon as you're divided, it's game, set, and match. You will not win, and it will do a tremendous amount of damage in your relationship. You have to be a united front, and it's especially important if you have a step family relationship. Well, let me talk about this issue of how to be unified as parents. Number one, you always present a united front to your children. You never argue in front of your children. If you've got an argument to be had, you go behind closed doors, but never let your children know that you have a disagreement about them. And what your children will do is they'll come and put you on the spot. And they'll say, you know, Dad, I want to talk to you. And children, by the way, they know who is the soft one on any issue. They know who has the money. They know who will let them go to the mall with their friends. They know who will let them go see a movie that's worse than the other. They know everything. And so they'll play you off each other. And so, again, just the mantra of parenting is, let me talk to your mother. Let me talk to your dad. Huh. You know what they're going to say. Okay, no. You know, let's just save the time and energy. No. But you're not going to play me against them. It's not going to be this good cop, bad cop deal. You're not going to play me against them, and you're not going to separate us. Everything, we're a two-headed monster. And you will not divide us. So what you do is, if you're arguing about parenting, go away for a weekend and argue for 48 hours. Just get it over with. And just sit down and say, what do we believe? What are we going to do? Because I'm telling you, if you're divided, your children you're not going to be successful. If you're not in agreement, the first thing you have to do is sit down. What are your values? What are your beliefs? And you have to be willing to compromise. And I'm not talking about compromising essential biblical truths, but you have to be willing to give in. Let me say this another way. This is my opinion. I think that men generally have half of God's brain, and I think that women have the other half. And I think when we come together, we're brilliant. And I think that when we separate, we're not. And Karen, over the years, what I have found is we make such great decisions together. But you have to respect each other. Well, we're talking today, this is from the Marriage on the Rocks seminar, we're talking about raising great children as you build a great marriage. And you know, Karen, you have to do both. And with raising our children as they were growing up, and they're both in their 30s now and married on their own and have children. But that is a great challenge, isn't it?
It is, and I'm just thankful that even in situations like this that are so difficult, with God, nothing's impossible, because you do need that hope. You need to be, told that you can make it, even if it's a real difficult situation.
Yeah, and you may be in a very challenging season in your marriage right now. Maybe your children are at a time where they're taking a lot from you. Focus on your marriage. Don't give your marriage up. You fight for your marriage. You keep that as the core, because your children need to see you succeeding in marriage, and one day they leave and they're going to have a marriage of their own, and you're going to be married still. And so just remember these important principles. We hope that this program today has been an encouragement to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Come back next time for more Marriage Today. God bless you. Goodbye.
Thank you for joining us. Partner with Marriage Today and receive the Marriage on the Rocks series on CD or DVD. Follow your interests and get social by connecting with Jimmy and Karen and the Ministry of Marriage Today on Twitter. Marriage Today's latest book, Happy Happy Love, will supercharge your marriage with practical tips, wisdom, and inspiration for every stage of marriage. Visit happylovebook.com. Become a rock-solid partner today and equip yourself with the tools you need for a successful marriage. $14, $28, or $56 per month. Choose the partnership level that's right for you. Become a rock-solid partner today.